Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Marone from Westchester Talk Radio, and we're here today in our continued series on dealing with the COVID crisis, particularly your healthcare, and especially today, how technology can help. And we're with Seth Rubenstein. Now, Seth is the Executive Director of U.S. and Canada at Multimedia Care. A little bit about Seth. With more than 30 years of strategic business development and experience across human resources, strategic alliances, SaaS sales, Seth is the Executive Director for the United States and Canada at Multimedia Care, as we've said, leading the strategic planning and application of the Multimedia Care suite of products across both regions, driving commercial initiative, new customer acquisition, and customer success. Prior to his role with Multimedia, he led a variety of positions across the information technology industry, spanning from the Director of Business Development and Global Partner Engagement to remote monitoring and management platform, Domots. Did I pronounce that right, Seth?
Yeah, we would call it Domots or Domots.
Domots. Okay, well that's what we do. In Smyrna, Georgia, to the Director of Business Development at computer software company. Now you're going to pronounce that one for me.
Which one? IHG? Yeah.
Say that again.
IHG.
Okay, IEG. Okay, I got that. IEG in Austin, Texas is beyond and beyond. He's been around the country. A revenue-driven and team-oriented professional, Seth holds a Master's of Education from Penn State, great school, and a Bachelor of Arts from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Seth, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you. Wow. Okay. Let's get to cases.
Yeah.
Tell me about your company. Tell me about this firm.
Glad to. So Multimedia is a 33-year-old integration technology company. We've had experience installing boardrooms and arenas with all the audio, video, security, access control types of equipment, also high-end residential. So we've got a great deal of experience in bringing disparate technologies together harmoniously, as we like to say, making technology behave, right? So we bring it all together. Multimedia Care was launched this year in response to our COVID crisis. And it really is a wellness screening umbrella for the technologies and solutions that are intended to address our current state of affairs. The health check.
So hence the wellness cares.
Yeah.
I was saying hence that wellness cares. Now, this, as we get into your business, is it safe to say that even had COVID not happened, that we were headed in this direction anyway?
There's no question. The technologies that we're bringing together already existed. There's facial recognition, folks know about that. There's access control. There's temperature reading. Most of us may have been familiar with handheld devices that we used at home on kids rather than take their child in to see a physician. You take their temperature, see if it's worthy of making a doctor's visit. So those types of solutions have been around, certainly digital signage, and a lot of folks are accustomed to using hand sanitizers and QR codes, right? All of those technologies have been around for a long time, but bringing them together to solve this problem together is the uniqueness. I think really this COVID situation pushed a lot of this stuff to a fast forward.
What are some of the products that you use in this endeavor?
Sure. So we use what we call facial scanning to detect the presence of a mask. So facial recognition is a terminology that means that we're recognizing a face up against a database of faces. Whereas what we're doing is we're scanning for the presence of a mask. So it's a thermographic camera that we have on the health checkpoint. And that what that does is it takes temperature within a matter of a split second, and it will tell me if I'm above or below a threshold. But it will also scan for facial features, and if it doesn't detect definition below the cheekbones, then it's going to assume there's a mask present. And if it does detect a mouth and nose, then a voice will come across and say, please wear a mask. So that's one of the technologies.
I want you to hold it right there because this is interesting. We're getting into it now. Let's talk about the uses of it. Right now, had you had that application working now, you could see if I had a fever, that I wasn't wearing a mask, that I may have been in some way, had a pallor. Now, why, since we're virtual, why do you care if I'm wearing a mask?
Well, so if people want to welcome visitors, whether it's customers or employees, back into a facility, then you want to project confidence, right? That this is something you care about.
Because I walked in my internist's office just 3 weeks ago, and I wasn't getting in the door without a mask, and then they took my temperature. You just did it with a camera at the front door.
We did without putting somebody at risk. You or the person holding the device, because those handheld devices, not only do they have a high hit or miss rate, but it's also their usage is in direct violation of principle number 1, which is, social distance or a distance between two people. This is
terrific. All right. Now, some of the other products, please.
Sure.
This is fun.
So of course, the dispensing of a hand sanitizer. So over my shoulder, you can see a model of one of our units. Yes, this is the health checkpoint. So up here in this area, this would be where the thermographic camera is. And then right by my shoulder, you see an oval shape, and that's where somebody puts their hand in, and without touching anything, a little squirt of gel will hit their hand, and now they're sanitizing their hands while they're getting their temperature taken and the mask.
Still out by the front door. This is great. All right. Yeah, and that's a very clear shot. You can be sure.
Excellent. And then the other technology, and that thing holds a gallon of gel, so you don't need to worry about refilling it all the time. Then we have a digital sign. So everybody thinks of computer screens or displays as means of engagement or communicating. We see digital menus in restaurants now. So having a sign on the podium or on the station is another way to communicate in a way that puts across a message that says, hey, welcome, we're glad to have you. If you've had any contact with anybody who've had symptoms, maybe it's better that you go home, and we'll send someone to you. We'll send you the food that you want to order or whatever it is that you came here to get from us. Let's all be safe. So those are the technologies. We also include one other item, which is a QR code. Have you ever scanned a QR code with your phone? Right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, obviously touchless. If you just bring that up on your phone, you scan the QR code on the station, and now effectively the information is jumping into my handheld. If this is a restaurant that I'm walking into, this could be the menu. It could be the special of the day. It could be for an employee, it could be saying, hey, if you've had any contact with anybody with symptoms lately, maybe this isn't the best time for you to be out in public, right? It can be anything that the user of this device, the company that puts this out in front of their establishment, it's anything that they want it to be as far as engagement.
This is interesting. That voice you hear and that face you see is that of Seth Rubenstein. He's the executive director of US and Canada for Multimedia Care. It's medical technology. They're medical technology developers. And we've already seen how you can walk up to your doctor's office, your restaurant, your place of business. With a camera, he took your temperature. He made sure you wore a mask. They checked to see if you had even any pallor or you were looking good. And the other machine will give the disinfectant to your hands, and then they can let you in.
Yeah.
Anything else we ought to know about the technology before we move on?
Interestingly, we deliver a floor mat, and most folks in the United States would look at that and go, "What is that for?" Well, it holds a solution. It's 1 part bleach and 9 parts water, and it's intended to disinfect your shoes. Now, like I said, most folks here in the States aren't accustomed to seeing that sort of thing, but elsewhere on the planet, this is very common. If you've ever traveled outside of the States, and as you return, you fill out a customs form and it says, have you visited a farm? Well, the reason is that lots of things can travel with us on our shoes. And the CDC, when they did a study of the facilities in China to see how this virus is spreading, they found more virus on the floor in the pharmacy than they did on the bed rails of the sick patients.
Absolutely.
And no patients had been in the pharmacy. So they knew that this thing was being tracked around. So we're a little ahead of the game by supplying that as just part of the package when somebody gets a health checkpoint.
Okay. So tell us again what the package is. See, my daughter's a microbiologist.
Nice.
And when I've gone, the rare times I've been able to go to her house, she's spraying my shoes. And they can leave them out front. So go back to this technology. Now, how do you apply it?
So it's very simple. The mat is a rubber mat. It comes with the health checkpoint. So the health checkpoint is about 6 feet tall, about 1.5 feet wide, and only about 7 inches deep. So it's about the size of a good size man or football player. It's a nice size. It has the thermographic camera for mask verification and for temperature, the gel dispensing, the digital signage, the QR code, and then the mat holds a solution so that hands-free, I can just step up to it, and as I'm standing in it, I'm having my temperature read. This is all happening in a matter of split seconds. I'm putting my hand out to get the fluid, and next thing you know, I'm on my way.
Yeah, this is amazing. So, and I want people to understand what the product in it is. It's Health Checkpoint.
Yes.
It already took my picture, as I said. Well, it's looking at me.
Yes.
I have my mask on. It took my temperature. It's got to look at my face. It knows I'm wearing the mask. And now I can put my feet on this mat and my shoes are disinfected.
Yep.
My daughter would love you. Wow.
Listen, I'd love to be able to reference her as a credible source for why this is important.
Oh, you sure can. I will arrange for that. Yeah, she's the real deal. Now, what other capabilities does it have, Health Checkpoint?
Well, I guess the most valuable utility that this station provides is that it communicates the values of the establishment. We care about the health, the well-being of our employees. We care about the health and well-being of all of our visitors. The people who think about when they go back out into the world and they choose places to visit, they're going to be looking for signs that this establishment and these proprietors care, they pay attention, they put their money where their mouth is. They can talk all day long about whether or not they care about their employees and their visitors, but by putting a piece of technology out front with all the opportunities to engage, the digital sign and the QR code, now you've got this great message, right? And a great way to stay engaged with your audience.
I want to get back to a little bit about you, listeners and viewers. You're a technology guy. You're an executive. You manage things. Now you're doing it for healthcare.
Yeah.
How much did you have to invest in terms of your interest and your leadership?
Yeah.
In what this would do, as opposed to the bits and the bytes and putting together the applications? It seems you need to have a hand in both worlds.
Well, it's an interesting question because my background and my education has everything to do with people and counseling. So my master's degree from Penn State is in counselor education for college student personnel. So I'm definitely a people-oriented person, right? Now, I've been in the technology space for the last 20-something years, and I've known our founder, Federico Balsone, for almost all of those years. So he knows me, and he knew me as somebody who provided software as a tool for him to use. He knows the kind of person I am. So when he came to me earlier this year and said, hey, look, the economy is really seized up, projects have stopped, we're going to retool. We're going to take all of our knowledge and expertise and our existing customer base, and we're going to combine it in a new way that helps to address this issue. And, by the way, what are you doing these days? And I know that when he asked me that, he wasn't really interested in my response other than I'm doing what you're doing. So it was a natural for me. In fact, for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm really doing something that's not only beneficial to our own company because it's keeping us busy, but it's also good for our customers, and their families. So this is where we get to be part of something that's positive and proactive in terms of engagement.
Well, what I like about the presentation of the product, and I think that this speaks to your education background, there was no technology rhetoric or confusing terms about what's inside it. Yeah. You've been very clear on what it does and how easy it is to use, and that's no small thing, and that really is going to make a difference. Now, we're going to come back to Health Checkpoint and wrap it in a nice package and see what it is and how people can get it. But does your firm do other things that for the health business that you might want to mention before
Absolutely. So other areas, now this is clearly our marquee, our focus. This is something that we want to hang our hat on.
They're our marquee today, but they should know a little more about your company.
Absolutely. Other types of technologies, wellness screening, there are things related to wearable devices. As you are probably aware, a number of the existing wearables.
Fitbits, I call them.
Exactly. They're getting better and better at being able to tell us more about ourselves. Now, what can be leveraged in terms of that health and knowledge is first and foremost important to the wearer, just like it's most important to the person who's receiving a screening of any type, right? It is most important to you how you're doing and your health, because it makes you aware, makes you more conscious, and you can make better decisions. But the wearable linked to a database that allows for contact tracing and path of movement within a facility, those are the types of technologies that we're bringing together and making available to any type of potential user.
If I may, in the market that Westchester Talk Radio is in and the radio that I've been doing, we have a lot of listeners and viewers who are of the political class. And you mentioned contact tracing.
Yes.
What do you have to make that job easier?
Well, lots of tools exist. And I know that one of the biggest concerns that folks will have is privacy. There are systems that allow for anonymizing data, meaning that they will track and report on general statistics. And there are others that are a lot more specific to the person. That has everything to do with what happens on the back end, meaning how that technology is and the data is leveraged.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's important, particularly with something like this, whether you're measuring curves, numbers of people, infection rates, and so forth.
Right.
This is fascinating. Any other products you want to mention? And then I want to come back to Health Checkpoint.
No, I think for now that this is really our main focus. Of course, the individual pieces of what we do with this combined solution are also available in various formats, but this is really where I think our sweet spot is.
Yes, and apropos of my next question,
Okay.
can I customize it? I buy one of these. I have a business, or right here in the studio. I don't want anybody on the other side of that green screen coming in that front door, uh, and I have your device. Can
Yes.
I customize it in any way?
Well, we certainly hope you will. In fact, we go to the next level and do some of the customizing for you. We will prompt you to insert your own logo and branding on the unit as it's being built on a utility on our website. So we
You
want.
white label the health checkpoint.
Hey, listen, I don't mind people finding us. I assume that they will, but I think that it's really valuable for those who have chosen to invest in it to have not only the branding opportunity for themselves, but let's just take, for example, a major beverage company that we might all recognize with red and white colors, all right? We can visualize them.
Yeah, I can visualize it.
Yeah, you might imagine that
Me.
they've got a number of restaurants and facilities where people like to go and be entertained, where beverage sales are way down. So it might be in the best interest of that beverage company to sponsor the positioning of a health checkpoint by dressing it up in their branding and their colors in cooperation with that facility. So you can imagine another company that has big gold, arch-shaped insignia, wanting to have a checkpoint that was sponsored by somebody who's also got a vested interest in their well-being, right? And again, it's not just about visitors, because it may be a takeout world, but there's employees in there, and I feel better going into a facility or buying from a facility where I know that everybody who crosses that threshold has gone through the same screening, right, as everybody else.
Now, can you integrate this with other things?
Oh, yeah.
By the way,
Yeah. And that's a great question, because that takes us back to our roots in systems integration. So as systems integrators, right, we have integrated things that in people's wildest imagination, they never thought would all work together. That's the nature of our sub-industry. Taking security devices, for example, and more than just cameras and alarm systems, think about access control.
These are the kind. By the way, I'm supposed to produce the segues. You just did them for me, because I wanted to know about security systems and employee IDs when I'm coming to swipe into work.
That's right. So out of the box, so to speak, we don't have, we're not tied to anything. So it's not like if I plug it in, I have to worry that this health checkpoint is somehow monitoring things that I don't want it to monitor. However, this industry of systems integration specialists, they know absolutely how to take these tools and tie them together with an access control system. So you imagine, you enter the lobby of a high rise and you have to walk through turnstiles that slide open. Well, you swipe a card and you go through. And this could very well be tied to a magnetic door lock that releases when you've been cleared.
Well, everything from an operating room to an emergency room to factory floors. In fact, I should think that hospitals and nursing homes, the best compliment I could give you is I could sell these things myself, because I've had several family members that have been in the hospital recently. And I've had to go by the front door. They take your temperature. Yes. You do all the things that box does.
Yeah.
Okay. But they can do it without, even from economic staff, but not put the staff at risk. Right. And then by the time you get into the magic doors, you're 90% there, plus your shoes.
Yes, exactly. And really, this is about awareness, about good behavior, encouraging people to do the right thing. Like I said, by itself, it's not going to stop someone from proceeding. But If right now you walk into a facility and you see a security guard who's now also tasked with holding this handheld device and asking the COVID questions, now you've got that person, instead of focusing on the space, they're looking at this one person and jotting things down. It's not the best use of that talent and resource. And this is a fraction of the cost.
You're the technologist.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could link the temperature and the mask wearing with whether or not the door is going to open up.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's easy to do. That's easy to do.
What other features might be coming?
Oh, great question. Well, and to segue, right? There is no question that technology is always advancing. There will always be something new. And what's great about having a sort of a planted flag out front is that you can always swap out the technology as the cameras improve, as the digital displays improve. Anything could be hung off of this device and it still does the gel dispensing, and it still has the floor mat, and it still does the QR code. So it's really a platform on which to establish a message that you're sending to the outside world, and it allows you to upgrade as you wish.
Well, now that we know how it's going to evolve as well, we've talked about this, but I want you to underscore it again. What should businesses want from this? What should businesses be interested in? Well,
let's imagine that the employee costs over the period of a year are in the tens of thousands of dollars, right? Our unit, and I'll just cut to it. It's fully loaded. It's a $5,000 unit. It's $4,495 total with all the equipment and with your own branding on it. So that is, there is no other system like it that exists that has all this stuff included at that price point. But I'm not necessarily looking at a bunch of other different tools. It's really about comparing with the incalculable cost of that employee, their safety and well-being, as well as the visitors themselves. So, we think that employers certainly should be taking a proactive approach to communicating outwardly where their values are. They care about their stakeholders, and do that in no better way than a technological solution. It communicates on multiple levels where you are as an entity. But it also has this tremendous cost benefit in terms of taking this unsavory task of having to screen people and making it objective, making it something that this station can do in a much safer way.
Well, I'm still just amazed that it's only less than $5,000. I think it's got a great price point as well. Which industries would benefit the most, in your opinion? We've touched on some hospitals, factories. Yeah. Believe me, radio stations, TV stations. We've got people coming in as guests. I had to bolt the door.
Exactly right. And restaurants are super easy. Any place where people are already going. For example, you mentioned a visit to an internist, right? Any doctor's office, does a health park, any place where you're going to have people who already have standing appointments that are probably scheduled way in advance, a dentist's office, right? A bank, any place where you've got people coming and going, where you want to give them assurance that this place is a safer place to enter. And you want to also give the employees a stronger sense that, hey, listen, before you send somebody my way so that I can give them care, customer service, you're covering my health and well-being as well.
I just want to reset for folks. Folks, you're listening and watching Westchester Talk Radio. I'm Bob Marone, the anchor for today's broadcast. The man that we're talking with, Seth Rubenstein, he is the executive director for U.S. and Canada of Multimedia Care. The product we're talking about is Checkpoint. Again, this company does other things other than this product. We're going to focus on this product now. One more time, the overview.
Sure. So the health checkpoint, it does a thermographic screening, which means that it does mask verification. So it uses the AI technology, not to run it up against the database of faces. We're not storing any information. We're not identifying people. All we're doing is leveraging an existing technology to verify the presence of a mask. If there's a smooth spot detected in this area, then it's going to assume there's a mask present. If it detects definition, it'll say, please wear a mask. At the same time, it's taking your temperature, and should you exceed or a certain established threshold, it will tell you this is your temperature, and it will show up in red versus green where your temperature reading is in a safe zone. That's the screening, the sort of the symptomatic screening element of it. There's also a digital sign for communicating with your visitors. This can be any kind of messaging you'd like. We have a QR code. So the QR code scanned by your visitor can now walk away and maybe place an order on a menu while they're waiting to be seated, or they can check in, answer questions on a COVID questionnaire. A health park, it might say, hey, your appointment is in this area, or this is how you navigate our building. Here's where the elevators are. There's any number of ways that QR code could point to an app or a website. And then there's the floor mat that holds a solution that as you approach the station and you stand in it, you're already getting scanned, right? You put your hand out, you're getting the hand sanitizer gel from that oval shaped dispenser. And you're getting your shoes sanitized because you're standing in a simple solution, one part bleach and the other part's water. And now you have done the best you can at this point in time to proceed with a higher sense of confidence about your own well-being and that of others.
And that of others. I mean, it's certainly people focused, but it also is there's a matter of economics here.
Absolutely.
This thing, the price point. Tell people about the price point again,
Sure.
And then tell us about the size. Folks, if you look at Seth's fine image, you see to his left, our right, the device itself. Tell us a little bit about what's the size, and then tell me the price.
So this unit, we have two models, and this one we call the Monolith, right? It looks a little like from 2001, right?
Yeah.
So it's 6 feet tall. It's 6 feet tall with the base, and about 1.5 feet wide, and about a little over 6 inches deep, 7 and something.
Secure it to the floor, or does it stand alone?
Yeah, it stands right on the floor. It's got some wheels under it. It just needs a power supply. So you plug it in, and that's it. The unit holds a gallon of gel, so you don't have to constantly be thinking about refilling the station. And the other model, we call it Slim Tech. It looks a lot more like something you see in maybe at a bank of elevators, right? Where it's just a thinner, similar model, but it does exactly the same things if you wanted to. And it's $4,500. That's our MSRP. So we do have relationships with resellers that you can purchase from, or you can buy directly from us. But $4,500 for this assembly of equipment, functionality, and form factor with branding, meaning that we will put your logo on it, or you can put your logo on it and put it in front of a partner's location to show your support of that partner. A beverage company could put it in front of a restaurant, as one example. There's just a number of ways that this could be leveraged. It's like a creative palette that you have to use to communicate on.
Seth, how long has this been on the market?
We've got hundreds of them already out on the market in more than just the United States. But we started back in, it was around, we conceived of it in March, and we had our first units rolling out in July. And then there was an effort to really kind of bring this further along. This is actually the unit you're looking at here is our fourth version. So we've had a few different earlier models that weren't quite as slick. This was my favorite. I just love this oval shape. It's not imposing. It's engaging. It makes me feel like, oh, I'm curious. I want to step up and see what this thing is, and it's got benefit as far as information providing.
I think we're going to see a lot more of those going forward, just due to the phases of the pandemic that we're going through, number one, and number two, the economics, but just the utility of it. And I think, just as a guy that used to work with technologists myself, I think there will be things evolving that you and I didn't even discuss today.
Oh, no question. No question.
Now, if someone's interested and they're not going through a reseller, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure. Our website, very easy to find, multimedia.care. So Multimedia is our parent organization. That's the technology firm that's over 30 years old. So we've got lots of experience in bringing technologies together. Multimedia Care is the sub-organization that houses our wellness screening tools. And then Health Checkpoint. You can also find us just by putting in healthcheckpoint.com. So you can come to our site. You can certainly contact me directly, Seth at multimedia.care, SETH at multimedia.care.
You know, we'd like to have you back for another session to talk about some of the other things that Wellness Cares does, because if this is an example, which obviously it is, of what you guys do, there's a lot more to talk about. Absolutely. Once again, folks, Seth Rubenstein, thank you so very much. Health Checkpoint's the product. Wellness Cares is the company. And one more time, tell people how to get a hold of you.
Sure. You can send me an email message, Seth, SETH, at multimedia.care.
Wow. Continued success with this. I think it's a hit. Thank you so very, very much for your time today.
Well, it's been a real pleasure, and I really would like to follow up with your expert daughter about her opinions about sanitizing shoes.
I'll put her in touch with you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Everybody. Take care. And just to remind everybody, I'm Bob Marone. You've been watching a special broadcast here on Westchester Talk Radio. Health Checkpoint, the product, Wellness Cares, the company, and Seth Rubenstein, the Executive Director of U.S. and Canada for Multimedia Care. This will be posted, of course, on our website, Westchester Talk Radio. And thank you so much for being our guest, Seth. And folks, thank you for listening.